Now, if you don't watch boxing or you don't follow the storylines in the news, then you're not going to know what I'm talking about. But hang in there, that's good because we're going to try to educate you. You got a fighter by the name of Chris Algieri, 20-0, with only 8 knockouts. Remember, only 8 knockouts. The 140-pound WBO champion taking on the Emmanuel Dapper-Dran Manny Pacman Pacquiao, 56-5 with 2 knockouts. And I'm thinking that this kid, Chris Algieri, is going to get baptized, but you got to listen to me. He is good. But first, let's just bow our heads in prayer. Pray any way you want to.
God of our weary years, God of our silent cheers, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path, we pray.
Now, I know you probably think, this guy is too dramatic. I just want to watch some boxing. But see, hey, that's why I call the show T Street Controversy. T Street Controversy Live is because I do what I want and I back it up by talking about boxing. So let me run it back to you. Boxing fans are upset because they don't know why Manny Pacman Pacquiao, if he's supposed to be so great, if he's supposed to be the guy that can beat Floyd Mayweather, and Mayweather's been ducking him for years, if he's supposed to be so great, then why is he only fighting Chris Algieri in Macau? Chris Algieri, Argentine-American, but he's American. I believe he's like Roman Catholic or something. I'm going to make sure as time goes on, we're going to definitely get his religion down. Don't worry, just follow me. Chris Algieri, 20-0. 20-0, he's undefeated. With only 8 knockouts. Remember, only 8 knockouts because if you look at all the fighters that Manny Pacman Pacquiao has fought, the last fighter he fought that had under 10 knockouts at that point in time was a guy by the name of, let me see if I can get his name right because it was long. Magog Bitov. I'm going to spell it for you. YESHMAGABETOV. Don't ask me how I know. Don't ask me how I know. But the point I'm trying to make is outside of that, it was Timothy Bradley with only his 12 KOs. So if you know what Pacquiao, this is a fighter. He's 35 years old, by the way. He's going to be 36 years old at the end of this year in December the 17th. If you look at his career, if you look at the fighters and the wars he's been in, what does he do? Aggressiveness. Now I'm going to define what aggressiveness is. Aggressiveness is a term I thought of when a boxer goes to a point where it's almost like for the Dragon Ball Z guys, like going Super Saiyan to the point where you don't give a fuck about nothing. I failed the test, but did I finish the word? Did I say the 4 F-U-C-K? That's the thing. See, I said I wasn't going to curse since during this video, but we're going to continue the test anyway. To go aggressiveness, Manny Pacquiao went full aggressiveness when he got knocked out by Manuel Marquez because he was so close to doing something he never done before against a genetic specimen, against a Cyberdyne. I don't know what Marquez is, but that's not human. So he took Manuel Marquez to the brink of extinction in that 4th fight until Marquez hit him with the force of like a truck. I forgot. ESPN, go look it up. ESPN did some old scientific breakdown of how much force the punch that Manuel Marquez hit Manny Pacquiao with. It was like he got hit by a bus. When he went to sleep, surprised he's still fighting. But he went full aggressiveness because he knew he had Marquez cornered, Marquez bleeding all out his nose, and he's making all these faces and everything in the corner, But if you even go back to that fight when Manny Pacquiao got knocked out in that 3rd round, you saw everybody's face. And then one more thing. I don't want Mitt Romney. If you see Mitt Romney, listen, Mitt Romney was there. It was so much bad stuff going on with that fight, man. Mitt Romney had no business being there. And I'm sorry, Mitt, whatever the case may be, you know, like Benghazi, you know, I know the deal, but still, like, you know, you had no business being there. But moving on. When that first knockdown came, when Manny Pacquiao got knocked down that first time, that was something that Marquez could not do in the 3 previous fights. There was something that many other opponents, you know, Manny Pacquiao's been knocked out before, yes. You know, so for him to get knocked out as a 34-year-old, what was he, 33 at the time? He was about to turn 34, I believe, you know. For him to get knocked out at that point in time, it was like, oh, the great Manny Pacquiao. But he got put to sleep by a perfectly timed punch that Marquez had been working on. Marquez himself said after the 3rd fight that I need more power. Like, I'm hitting the guy clean, but I can't hurt him. And then this fight, then that 4th fight, he got the power. I mean, you get a new strength and conditioning coach, and, you know, you become a genetic freak. Oh, and it's cool, hey. But moving on, he goes on to fight Brandon Rios after people said, yo, he should retire, it's over. Brandon Rios, fans saying he was a punching bag. Okay, Brandon Rios is a good fighter. Yeah, Brandon Rios was coming off of a loss. Yes, Brandon Rios is one-dimensional, but you can't take away from his skill, you can't take away from his name and the credible wins that he has had. You know, so even if you look at the most recent fight against Diego Chavez, by the way, it's August 12th right now, 2014, T-Street Controversy, T-Street Controversy Live. Please subscribe, all the links below. If you don't know, I cover every single major fight live, HBO 24/7, all access, weigh-ins, news, yada, yada, yada. I'm on that. I provide a service. So what I want to also say is I want to say thank you to Real Combat Media. I'm associated with a website now, you know, interviews, media calls, everything you can need. The link is actually right there, the first link you see below, and I'm going to put it up there too. But what I'm saying is that we're going to a new level now. But let me get back to boxing. You get him going up against Brandon Rios. What do you see with Brandon Rios? Brandon Rios was put there for Manny Pacquiao to look good against. Come on, we know the deal. He was put there for Manny Pacquiao to look good against. So then let's just skip the whole Brandon Rios thing, and let's move on to Timothy Bradley 2. A fight where Manny Pacquiao was the underdog. People forget that Manny Pacquiao was the underdog. People forget that people are talking about Timothy Bradley versus Floyd Mayweather. People forget that Timothy Bradley on a lot of people's lists because of Andre Ward's inactivity, that Timothy Bradley was number 2 pound for pound. People forget that. You just forget that. You know, it's because I'm black. I get a lot of flack because it's like, you can't be a black man and be a hardcore Manny Pacquiao fan. And I'll say it right here, listen, I believe he may have did something during his Center Pacquiao days when he was drinking and adultery and all. That's all out there. We all know he did all that stuff. But when it comes to the steroids, you know, that's a sensitive subject because I'm looking at the man. I'm like, the man cleaned up his life. You know, if you look at him now, come on. Like, if he really doing something now, really, you know, but if you look back at then, you know, at that time when he used to leave Freddie Roach, you know, in the gym to be waiting for him, he used to show up with his entourage, him and Tito Ness and Boo Boy. They would show up to the gym all late, you know, and you would see Freddie Roach. Go check out the old HBO 24/7s. I believe it was Shane Mosley and maybe Oscar De La Hoya. But I also have to look at, like, the education I have and say, well, the only thing people are saying is, when it came to him maybe using performance-enhancing drugs, is how did that power come up? How did that power carry up and he was still knocking out, he was knocking out bigger fighters and guys and knocking down guys that have never been knocked down before, Shane Mosley. You know, how did he do that? You know, look what he did in Antonio Margarito's face. And then the whole Joshua Clottey situation, you know. So I can understand that side, like, where there's skepticism, but I can also say, well, even when he was fighting at 130 and 135, he was coming into the ring at like 146 and 148 pounds. Guess how much Manny Pacquiao comes into the ring as now? 150 pounds. He has not been at 151. I'm talking about when it comes to stepping on the scales, and you never see during the Manny Pacquiao fight, he always does the day of. You know, he always steps on the unofficial scales. You always see the number. You know, but, you know, other fighters, they don't always do that. And, you know, when you see that, it's like, oh, what's the weight? You know, but moving on, what I'm saying is that when he fought Timothy Bradley, he was an underdog. People saying Timothy Bradley just going to outbox him, and people, were questioning Manny Pacquiao's killer instinct or his aggressiveness. And he was saying it himself. He called it aggressive. But see, like I said, when you go to that level of aggressive, that means you will go to the point where you say, I'm going to just keep throwing. I'm going to throw punches. I'm going to throw everything at you, and I don't care. One of us is going to get knocked out right now. Simple as that. Other fighters get to that point. It's crazy. I can't even think of one fighter that goes like that. When they get, McDonald. Marcus McDonald, he went aggressiveness on Floyd Mayweather. That was crazy aggressiveness. When you hit with the elbows and you kick it and everything, that's crazy aggressiveness. So that was aggressiveness. But see, Floyd didn't use the aggressiveness to his advantage like Juan Manuel Marquez used the aggressiveness to knock Pacquiao out. He said, all right, I got to save up for this one punch. And he sat it just right on his face. So if you look at a fight with Juan Manuel Marquez that he was supposed to win, that he was close to winning, but then lost in the worst possible way you can never lose a fight, by getting knocked out, put to sleep cold. You fight Brandon Rios after that, a credible opponent. Then you fight a very highly ranked, whether you rank them number 2 pound for pound or not, a highly ranked Timothy Bradley, got his belt back, decisively, clean cut win. Despite what you say about Timothy Bradley, it was a clean cut win. People gonna say Timothy Bradley was trying to knock him out. He didn't go against the game plan. He lost the fight. He wasn't hurt enough. He lost the fight. So when you look at those 3 opponents and those, and then if you look at the controversy surrounding the Timothy Bradley fight and the Marquez 3 fight, even though he got the win for the Marquez 3 fight, still controversy there. So you got Timothy Bradley, the Marquez 3 fight, 2 controversial fights. Timothy Bradley fight he shouldn't have lost. The Marquez 3 fight could have been a draw at best, and then what? You go to Marquez again, get knocked out, almost win that fight, beat Brandon Rios, beat Timothy Bradley, get your belt back. What more can you ask for? What really more can you ask for from a fighter who can't fight other fighters outside of HBO? Why? Because they're Al Haymon fighters, and that's a whole video on its own. The Al Haymon, Steven Espinoza, the Golden Boy situation, the Richard Schaefer situation, the Mayweather promotions, and there's so much going on, but these are all things that I feel fans should invest themselves in. And me personally, I have to do more research, because I have aspirations to be a boxing promoter sometime in the next 2 years. So what that means is that I gotta learn and from the outside in. But Pacquiao right now, he can't fight Amir Khan. He can't fight a Marcos Maidana, a Keith Thurman, or a Sean Porter. He can't fight a Jose Zito Lopez. He can't fight those guys. He could have fought Canelo, because that was Golden Boys. That's Golden Boy and Oscar De La Hoya, and De La Hoya and Bob Arum's getting along. But Bob Arum gets a bad rep. Why I like Bob Arum? See, I admire Al Haymon, and I like Bob Arum, and I like the sneakiness and connivingness, if those are words, sneakiness, I know, of Steven Espinoza. So when it comes to Bob Arum, I look at all those years and all that experience, and all those mega fights, and then I also look at, well, that's a stubborn old man. And old people say dumb stuff, and I look at it like, well, you gotta look and say, well, he old, let's just hear him out. We know he old. So no disrespect, but that's really the way I look at it. Like when he be talking sometimes, when he be talking about Riggin down in, but like he just got the goddamn fight. Like, I'm like, yeah, this is old man. Yeah, he old. That's what I'm saying, he's old. So old people, if you notice, I got grandparents, I love them. But if you notice, sometimes they just be saying stuff, and you be like, what are you talking about? Like, they be like, I move this pan over here, then I come back downstairs and it's over there. Why they gotta move it up? Like, what? But when I look at the connections that he has, and the fact that when it comes to the fighters, for us, we're worried about the boxers. He put his fighters in the toughest fights, because why? He's got that stable of a very small amount of boxers, and truthfully, he's the elder of all these people. He's the one who fathered, I'm talking about as far as, put him on the scene, Oscar De La Hoya and Floyd Mayweather, Golden Boy Promotions and Mayweather Promotions. So he feels like he shouldn't have to bow down to them. You know, and then I think that, you know, you got to look at like, well, he an old man, and, you know, we got to do this for the fans. You know, just talk to Bob and be like, all right, listen, Bob, like, let's talk. You know, Floyd's the most powerful man in boxing. But he's so stubborn. Floyd's the most powerful man in boxing. He can call up ESPN right now and say, I don't want to do a live interview to call Pacquiao out right now on ESPN. You know, and he can go on right there for 15 seconds and just say, Bob, Arum, call me. Let's get it done. You know, I may side, but if you want to get this fight done, you listen to my demands and I'll be reasonable. He can just say something like that. You know, because he's the most powerful man in the sport of boxing. You know, but will he never uses his power that way. You know, this Manny Pacquiao fight could have been done. Pacquiao's been everywhere and said, yeah, I'll do drug testing and all that shit. Yeah, it was a problem before. I almost said it again, but I didn't. See, it was a problem before. You know, and I understand all that, because when he said he wasn't going to take no drug test, and that was around the time I started first covering boxing on here, I'm like, you know, like, why are you going to say he's not going to take no drug test? But at the same time, this is the way I was looking at it. I was like, who is Floyd just all out of nowhere just be like, yo, like, you know, like I'm telling you to take these drug tests, you never took them before. And I looked at it like Pacquiao and Arum and their team didn't like the way Floyd was demanding things. You know, especially with Floyd at that point in time was only fighting once a year. Manny Pacquiao was making his bones, beating guys like Shane Mosley, Ricky Hatton. I know Mayweather beat those guys too, but still he was active. You know, he was active. Floyd was fighting once a year. Remember that. Floyd didn't want to be fighting twice a year. He tried to get out of fighting twice this year. You know, so when you look at the opponents, you know, you think like, well, why Chris Algieri? Why? 20-0 with only 8 knockouts. Most credible fights against Emmanuel Transformer. Like not former or form more, no, former Taylor, who's going to be fighting Adrian Broner on September the 6th. And then you got Ruslan Provodnikov, who wanted the Manny Pacquiao fight badly, but Freddie Roach told him no. Like, who going to train you, yo? You know? Like, I guess, you know, you could have put Samodio over in the other corner, because Samodio's been, if you know Marvel Samodio, you know, he's like Freddie Roach is like somewhat understudy or so. But basically, when Freddie Roach is off doing another fight or training Pacquiao or whatever, he sends Samodio off, you know, to be in the corner of Ruslan. So the fight could have happened that way, but then what does Ruslan do? Ruslan just doesn't step on the gas, and he allows Chris Algieri to box him. Chris Algieri doesn't have the punch output, and he doesn't have the power to deter Manny Pacquiao from keep coming at him with full aggressiveness. And that's what it is. He doesn't have the power to stop Manny Pacquiao from coming, and he doesn't throw enough punches. He's not going to sit there and throw a 7-punch combination. Chris Algieri's not going to sit there. And then if he sits there, Manny Pacquiao's got a fast hand still, and he's going to trade with you. And one thing about Pacquiao, people say, oh, this is what burns me up. People say he only got the left hand. That left hand, what it does to people. You know, like that left hand, and he'll continuously fire. He'll fire 3 straight down the pipe. That left hand breaks people's ankles. That left hand will smash your punching bag face up. That left hand will break your orbital bone. That left hand will make a boxer quit on his stool who never quit on his stool. That left hand will make Shane Mosley hang out on the mat waiting for his girl. You know, that left hand put Juan Manuel Marquez multiple times in his career and broke his nose and his face all up. Took Juan Manuel Marquez to hell and back to the point he said, I'm not fighting him for nothing. Give me 20 million, I'll fight him. Knowing it ain't no 20 million nowhere for him to get. You know, Marquez does not want no more of Pacquiao, period. If you don't understand that, listen to this. Pacquiao wanted Marquez and not Rios. Freddie Roach, from what I'm getting, was on the fence. He was like, yeah, you know, if we can get Marquez, all right, but I want to get somebody, I want to just send Pacquiao in there just like that right now. So, Marquez goes on to fight Timothy Bradley. and loses because he doesn't want to fight Manny Pacquiao again, and it was a whole situation that Timothy Bradley didn't want to go fight Macau and all that type of stuff. So Timothy Bradley and Juan Marquez fight, but Timothy Bradley knows, like, let me stay away from that right hand and let me outbox him and not try to trade like I did with Ruslan Vodnikov. But then he goes and does the same thing with Manny Pacquiao, but you know, that's a whole different story. So Marquez loses a decisive decision to Timothy Bradley, clear cut, and what does he do? Start crying. Now, he was robbed, and the only loss he really had in his career was against Floyd Mayweather. You know, integrity already. You know, so you drink. Fans, if you don't know, this boxer, Juan Marquez, one of the greatest Mexican boxers of all time, will also be known for drinking his urine in front of you. He'll drink it. He'll drink it up. He'll enjoy it, and you won't see like a cringe in his face, like a crease. Pause, but it slides right down. Refreshing. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen it. So when you think about like those type of things, it's like, to me, just like when you can say, well, Pacquiao was probably on juice because he was drinking and, you know, dealing with other women and having love childs and all that stuff, you know, allegedly, you know, but Marquez drinking his pee. But if you drink your pee, how I know you won't eat poop? If you eat poop, how I know you won't do steroids? You get where I'm going with this? You know? So if you think you lost to Timothy, if you really think you won against Timothy Bradley, and Nacho, and he old too, I don't listen to nothing, even though I understand Spanish, but I can't speak it. But you're not going to be no Spanish person to be talking to me. And you know, because you're going to think when you see me like, oh, hell no, and you're going to be talking some, and I understand what you're saying. You know, but you know, I don't really listen to Nacho because he just be riding with whatever Marquez says, and Marquez, you know, they just say, you know, the same stuff. So it's hard for me to believe that you would do all that, but then you won't, you know, take a needle, you know, you won't become, you know, like that obsessed mad scientist. Like, I gotta beat Pacquiao. Like, I don't know what I need to do. You know, then you gotta go to the dark side, and then, you know, Mr. Haradia, whatever his name is these days, comes up and be like, there are ways. But do you want to go down that alley? Are you sure you want to do that, brother? Marquez is like, you know, he probably went home. You know, he probably saw Manny Pacquiao singing or something. You know, and then, you know, he probably called up Mimo and was like, yeah. And me, and he said, you sure or not? But yes. That was my English interpretation. But Marquez, long story short, Marquez wants no parts, period. I don't ever see that fight happening. And it's crazy because Bob Arum tried to set it up so bad because he made the Mike Alvarado, the Marquez versus Alvarado fight, the #1 contender for Manny Pacquiao belt, WBO belt. So it was like, you know, you can see how he was trying to set it up. Like, look, you know, fighting. You know, look at now. Now Marquez is saying, like, I won't retire until I get another 147 pound. No, until I get a 147 pound belt. Because remember, he's been fighting there for quite some time. You know, and even if he fought Floyd Mayweather, you know, and then went back down the weight, still, you can still count that as, well, he fought at 147, but he still hasn't had a belt. You know, and that's crazy. He has not had a welterweight, you know, a welterweight title. You know, so when you factor in those things, you can go right there and get big money for fighting Pacquiao and get that belt, and then be able to decisively beat him and then retire. But will he do it? Nah, he's not going to do it because he doesn't want to go through that. And I used to use, what is this dog doing? What are you doing? Like, see, I use the term that he doesn't want to go through that S word anymore. And what I'm saying is he doesn't want to go through it. You know, he doesn't want to go to a point where Pacquiao's going full aggressiveness and Marquez has to use his final shot. If you look at that fight, that looked like that was all Marquez had left. That looked like all Marquez had left. And that was the full rebirth of the Emmanuel Dapper-Dran Pacquiao, because that was him paying for all those sins. You know, everybody, dirty sinners got to pay for their sins. You know, and Pacquiao, all the sinning and all that stuff, everything, you know, Marquez, listen, he was that thunderbolt. You know, Marquez struck him down. And then just like Pacquiao was reborn, struck Rios down for cursing in front of his kids, and then struck Timothy Bradley down for lying and saying he won the fight. You know, when talking all that trash about how he gonna knock Pacquiao out when he never named even. The last person he knocked out was Casio, and he was high, like literally. He had marijuana in his system. So, to get back to Chris Algieri, listen. I know I didn't spend this whole video just talking 25 minutes. It was only supposed to be 15 minutes long. Chris Algieri is good, but when I look at those 8 knockouts, I think, well, is he going to be able to hurt Pacquiao? Pacquiao's going to keep coming for him. He's going to keep coming for him. Chris Algieri is not the type of guy that's going to throw 100 punches around. And then if he does throw 100 punches around, I mean, he's going to get caught. You know, I don't even want to talk about the strategy of the fight. I'm going to say that for a whole video, but there's so many ways I see Algieri losing. And then in order for him to win, he has to be a fighter that we have not seen. He has to turn into a defensive super specialist. Because when you fight Pacquiao, you know you got to be defensively sound. Because that left hand is hard to time, and he's awkward, and he uses crazy angles. You know, so people are saying, why Chris Algieri? Like I said, when it comes to the pickings that was available out there, it was like either him, Alvarado, who else? It was either him, Alvarado, provoking a call for Algieri. You know, if you look at the politics of it, it wasn't nobody there for him to fight. You know, but if you don't know, what I'm going to be doing is, I'm going to be covering HBO 24/7, and if you don't know how I roll, I've been doing it for 4 years now almost. I do a preview, you know, when I talk about all the build up to that point of the preview, then I do a review of the show, and then basically, see what I do is, I talk about the stuff that that the networks can't talk about. So, I'm a little tired. I want to say T Street Controversy, please subscribe. I cover every single major fight live. My new channel is all boxing. You know, that's okay. There's going to be a sprinkle of some world news or some movies. And, you know, I still watch wrestling every now and then. I watch Raw at night. But only if a wrestler dies or something, God forbid, then I'll do a video. You know, on something that can touch the soul, the heartstrings. T Street Controversy. Rest in peace, Robin Williams. Patch Adams. That was really, y'all really like that movie. T Street Controversy, T Street Controversy Live.